What should you know before you start investing? Today in this video, I'm gonna share exactly what I believe that you should know before you start investing or even considering to invest. By the end of this video, if you have not started investing, you would be able to gauge and see how you can go about that so that you can start investing sooner. Hello, Calebby here. Who am I? Check out the last video, I'll put the link here. Anyway, reminder that I'm not a financial consultant nor financial advisor. The stuff that I am covering here today are all based on my own experience, what I have done and see others do. Let's get on with it. First off, before you start investing, you would need to work out your end point, your end goal, what you hope to achieve in the future from this investing journey. So you might say,
retire young, of course, financial freedom, of course, financial security, of course.
But then again, the definition of retiring young and financial freedom can mean different things for different people. So we will need to define our end goal before we start investing so that when we set out, we would know what is the achievement that we want to unlock. For me, I would want to have assets in excess of $3 billion US. Why $3 billion? Now this amount has been increasing slightly over time, also due to inflation, because my end goal, besides owning companies with dividend paying stock, the main goal is to be able to buy or launch a cruise ship, you know, like the Allure of the Sea or Harmony of the Sea. Now each of them cost the Royal Caribbean Cruise Line $1.2 billion to $1.35 billion. Now a few factors for their price difference would be Harmony of the Sea is slightly larger, but the main reason for their difference is inflation. So probably in the future, maybe 20-30 years down, or maybe even 40 years down the line, when I'm finally able to retire, buy my own cruise ship, the prices for purchasing or building a cruise ship would have increased drastically. That's why it became $3 billion, but it would also continue to increase over time as I go along. Now of course, the thinking is not just to buy one cruise ship and then pay for the entire maintenance, expecting that I would be able to enjoy every single amenities on the cruise ship. The plan is to work out some sort of agreement or lease agreement with one of the cruise lines such that I could still receive certain sort of income, but I would be able to stay for free in one of the rooms. Now this is a very far-fetched dream, but it's a dream nevertheless that I would hope to achieve in the future. People who have the same dream could jump aboard, I guess. So the summary of why I would want to own a cruise ship is so that I can still make money, this retirement asset can still make me money, and I be enjoying the life of comfort on the sea, traveling the world in one of the comfy rooms. Number two, the second thing that I believe you would need to know before you start investing would be the question, what is your interest? No, not the interest that you're loaning money to your friends for. Things that make your eyes sparkle and makes you become an orator when people ask you questions relating to your interests. What are the things that you like to do? Things that you would do whenever you have free time or leisure time. For me, it's history, so I like to read up on history, historical topics. The videos that I watch, if they are not about finance or stock investing, they would be about history. Even the games that I'm still playing are all historical grand strategy games. One of the things that I find very fascinating about history is understanding how different parts or factors would affect everything else. Something like geography, how it would affect politics or diplomacy between two countries or two groups of people. How an exploration on an entirely unknown continent could have effects and repercussions for people who did not even know about those explorations. Now, why is your interest important? It is from Sun Tzu's Art of War. One of his key tenets or key points is understanding yourself and understanding your opponent or the competition that you're gonna face. I mean, indirect translation is know yourself, know your enemy, 100 battles, 100 victories. Basically, the gist of it is if you know yourself and you know your enemies, you will never lose. So because of my interest, I find it easier to read annual report to find out how different parts of the annual report interact with each other, how they might or how they would affect the company's outlook in the future. And yes, sometimes or maybe a lot of times there are companies whose annual report are very vague. I do not understand how it works, I do not understand how the company is making their money that they claim they are making. So for those types of company, I would not invest in them because it will be as good as gambling, and I'm not a fan of gambling. Now move on to the last point. If you're fired tomorrow, or you realize that you are gonna be fired tomorrow from your job, and if you are self-employed, what if you found out that your company could not operate similar to this current situation where many SMEs not related to essential services are struggling, and yet you still have to pay for your own expenses for the foreseeable future, maybe 3 to 6 months at least? Will you be able to pull through without going into debt, borrowing money from friends, families, banks, credit cards? So my third point is emergency fund. You would need to understand why is there a need for an emergency fund. Now this is very simple, and I'm sure you already know. It is so that you can have a peace of mind, so while you sleep you will not have nightmares of getting fired, because in any case, even if you are fired, you would still be able to survive for at least the next 3 to 6 months without getting into debt. And most likely, if there's any financial crisis, your emergency fund would be able to be extended longer because you would probably reduce your expenses after the fact that your income is no longer stable. Now we in Singapore, or Asians for that fact, tend to generally have higher rates of savings compared to other many non-Asian or Western countries, especially the US. Now I know it's not an exact gauge using the gross savings rate, but if you are just taking it from face value, Singapore has a gross saving rate of 47 to 48%, meaning for every $100 that our country makes or our country generates from its products and services, our country itself is not spending the entirety of this $100. We are spending most of it, like 50 to 53%, but the remaining, which is 47 to 48%, we are saving it or not spending it, thereby saving. Now it is not a good gauge like I shared earlier, but if we just compare that, the US have a gross saving rate of between 16 to 17% right now. So you can say we are more than twice or even close to 3 times what an average US citizen would be saving. But the reason that I keep saying that it is not a good gauge is because in Singapore we have a CPF and we also have a sovereign wealth fund, and our government does not believe in deficit spending, which means that most of the money that we generated would not be needed to be spent and could be saved somehow, somewhere. So because of that, the gross savings rates for Singapore are artificially boosted. But if you just take any individual citizen in Singapore, you can say, according to this article that I'm going to show right now, that 60% of Singapore millennials are saving at least 20% of their income. Now this article took its data not from a very big group of participants. The participants were only 1,000. So take of that what you will. The reason for an emergency fund is to protect you against most unforeseen circumstances or black swan events. Events with very low probability of happening, but still happening nevertheless. So besides it giving you a peace of mind for investing, it would protect you from being forced to sell. Forced to sell what? Forced to sell your investment, of course, dummy, because for most cases, most sorts of investment would generally take a certain time frame for it to mature, like for bonds, or for it to start turning cash flow positive, like probably for real estate. And for stock market investments, the stock market will generally fluctuate crazily, sometimes in your favor, sometimes against you. So if you are being forced to sell, you might see your investment go sour, even though the company or what the company is doing is going great or going as expected by you. Alright, to keep this short, these are the 3 things that I have gathered together, things that I find that you should need to know before you start investing. Now, if you have any other things that you believe a new investor would need to know before they start investing, feel free to drop in the comments and I will see what I could do. Probably in the future video, we can do one part B on this video to talk about other things that a new investor should need to know before they start investing. Anyway, the summary for today today's video, the 3 points would be: what is your end goal or end game? What are your interests? Do you have an emergency fund ready? With that, thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay wealthy. See you guys next time.